chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you. From national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. Good morning to our global family. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and it's good to be back with you for this Monday. And after quite a busy weekend. Oh, yeah. I don't know about you guys, but lots been going on. Lots of people that I saw over the weekend. And it's amazing the type of conversations that ensued. I'm just getting all of my links up here for Facebook, Instagram. And yeah, great things are going on behind the scenes right here on cmrtv.com and the entire CMR family. And we're good to see the fact that we are making progress. As we continue to build this space, the content is definitely out there, and how we deliver, how we show up is key. And this is why it's important to have you all a part of this family once, and to keep it alive. Without you, it's not possible. But let's getting into this Monday. The content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. And yes, please don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And again, we want to thank you to all of our new followers and subscribers. I see you. You're appreciated very much. 936-8255 is the number to participate in our discussions. It's always good to get your feedback. I love to get your feedback. And it is Monday. Yeah, why not? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I know it's hard. We got used to that long weekend last weekend, and there we go. Let me put this banner up top here. It's better, I think. There we go. I think we were used to the long weekends, and hey, people said we want a shorter work week, right? What's your take on that? But yeah, there we have it. Now, what's happening this evening with our weather before we get into the nooks and crannies of our discussions today, which again, you are a part of it. Without you, it is not possible. The synopsis calls, and this is the weather forecast compliments of the Cayman Islands National Weather Services. The synopsis calls for a surface low to the west of the Cayman Islands that will support cloudiness and showers, which is expected to spread over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. Now, satellite images show scattered showers north of the Cayman Islands, moving to the northeast. The forecast for tonight calls for partly cloudy skies with a 40% chance of late night showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will fall to the mid 70 degrees Fahrenheit and winds will be southeast at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Now, tomorrow's forecast clouds for partly cloudy skies to cloudy skies with a 40% chance of showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will rise to the mid 80s. Winds will be southwest at 10 to 15 knots. And seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Now for the tides, today high tide will be at 7:37. Tomorrow a low tide will be at 2:10 a.m. and another high is expected at 9:05 a.m. in the morning. Sunset this evening will be at 5:45. Yeah, it's setting much earlier and it's getting darker much earlier. And sunrise is at 6:35 tomorrow morning. Now, the outlook for the weather is for a decrease in cloudiness and showers from Tuesday evening as the low moves west of the Cayman area and weakens moderate to easterly winds and moderate seas are expected by Wednesday morning as a high pressure system is expected to build over the southeast United States. Well, you know, it's that time of the year when we get those nice cool breezes blowing in. And you do feel a difference in the temperature given the heat that we've had all summer. And yeah, it's just we welcome any breath of fresh air, literally, when it comes to our temperatures. But it's good to be back here with you this afternoon. Lots going on, and I've noticed in some headlines, and you may have heard a lot of times of speaking here on this space about we talk about the digital ID here in the Cayman Islands, but it's no change either with what is happening in the United Kingdom. As media has it now, that's mandating now for persons to have a digital ID in order to be gainfully employed in the United Kingdom. We'll delve into that a little bit and putting it into our perspective here. I know that's going to dazzle the ears of more than likely Denny Warren. And Finance Committee continues today and post the report or the statement that was read out by the chairman of Finance Committee, the Honorable Ralston Anglin, which I was able to share some of it that was just delivering on Friday. Now, what that has done over the weekend, it has sparked a lot of conversation. Some is like, yay, it's about time. And then others are like, whoa, it's a lot. So it's not for me really to, I'm here delivering it to you. I am more than happy to, and I'll be sharing some of the conversations that even ensued today with some of the concerns from Caymanians that are a little bit concerned. And then you would notice if you were tuning live to Parliament earlier on today, you will see where the member from Georgetown Central made a statement in regards to how they feel that, and I'm paraphrasing, like there's some perception of disingenuous, like how things were being presented. It's not clear. It's not fair to the people. It's not even the structure in which these new fees are now, should they pass. And again, 11 members of the government, 8 members in the opposition. The chances of these things not being passed is slim to none because the government does have the number. But what I'm saying is, I want to delve into that, but your feedback is key. We've heard earlier on as well about reputational damage, what's happening into our space with these performers. That was a huge following this morning as well. Even those conversations ensued while I was out with the wind down of, or wind up closure of Pirates Week celebrations, Heritage Week, whatever we're going to call it. So there's a lot that has been going on, and we have to come together as Caymanians as we protect our reputation. We're seeing where the industry now, it's been obvious where some of the persons may have gained entry into the Cayman Islands and didn't have the necessary legal documents, let's say even to work. And how do you differentiate someone coming to the islands at the weekend that we had with all of the festivities and be able to figure out who is a genuine tourist versus who was flown in as friends of what is alleged the person putting on this show, and they were working as servers, bartenders. So it's a lot to be at hand. And I listened this morning, and the main reason why I bring some of these things up is because a lot of the discussions that we've had here, when it came to accountability, policing, and the enforcement arm of our operational arm of government, it's obvious. I've heard persons who've worked in the industry, persons who have been very active in the music association back in the day, that they were saying these breaches has actually lasted for a number of years. But again, it goes back to who's enforcing. And then I'm really hoping that the government sees what has happened, and the enablers to make these things happen, that it then gives the entire island a brand. Thank God the artists don't see the jurisdiction as a place that is questionable, but it's definitely left a bad taste in the mouth and in the mouths of these artists. And can you imagine how our people are feeling who actually bought these tickets for this event, only to administrative reasons why they did not get their bang for their bucks? I'm quite sure that this is not the end of this conversation here, but what it has done, I feel it has opened a Pandora box for persons who are holders of liquor license, holders who are persons who are holders of entertainment and promotion license, that this case will probably have the enforcement arm looking at all of this totally different. And it's not going to work unless the enforcement arm do their jobs. And whether the Caymanian national who actually facilitated this event to happen, whether one wants to disassociate themselves or not, there is a facilitator, and that is the Caymanian who has the holder of the license. And again, if that ends up into a legal matter, I don't think, if I were them, I would kind of lawyer up. I would to try and pretty much help themselves. And this is no advice per se. It's just that the reason why I say that is because for what's already in the public's space, if there was contracts entered into, once their name is a part of that, I can't see where they can dodge it. And if they were the enabler, meaning the license holder for this event to go on, liability is borne on them as well. So it's going to be interesting. Can't get into the nooks and crannies with it. Everything is speculative right now, besides what's in the public's domain is definitely trending. It's worldwide, because when you impact artists like this with the respect that a lot of those artists actually have globally, and the following that they do have, I think sometimes we just look at the end prize for not looking at from the professional side in understanding the liabilities, which goes back to even other conversations that we've had here when you take out work permits, not understanding the liabilities that you take on when you apply for a work permit and the work permit is granted, the responsibility that comes with that approval. It's the same responsibility that comes when you host these events and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, the one that's usually left holding the bag is the Caymanian connection to the event in this case. So it's going to be a little interesting how this one plays out. They better pray to God that the artists don't actually go ahead and challenge them, because it will be quite damning, unfortunately. And but it's definitely now have opened the door maybe of the seriousness of how these approvals can be or grants of license can be exploited. And I'm quite sure that that was not the intended purpose of one being granted any sorts of license, like a liquor license or a promotional license. That was never the intent of it. And if there was not clear with the terms and conditions of those approvals, I'm sure this particular incident will definitely show light on it. So these are the risks that you take, unfortunately, when promotions like this are happening. The lineup was great, though. I did question why was it happening on the same weekend as our national event, but I said, you know what? People have choice, but I thought it wasn't a good taste anyhow for it to have happened on our weekend. But kudos to them for that's the risk that they want to take. But it speaks a lot at the end of the day then as to why the turnout was so low, but yet we had so much showing up to our festivities. Okay, so it's going to be very interesting how this all unfolds. But it's good to be back with you. For those who are just joining me, good evening. Happy Monday. Miss Barbara G, good evening. How are you, my love? Good to see you. Hey, Marshall, how are you doing? Mitzi Thompson, how's the weather up north? Hope you had a good weekend and everything is okay with you. Hi there, Miss Barbara G. Good to have you. And have you all here. Hi, Connie. Good morning. Oh, really? Where are you, in England? This is not Sandra. I saw you. Connie Bonnie, it's good afternoon, my love, but it's morning somewhere. It looks like it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. Donnie, how are you? Did you enjoy the weekend festivities, or did you go out? What was that like? Yeah, I'm hearing of some unfortunate situations out there with an incident that took place, and it's pretty sad. I'm happy to hear that the victim was released from hospital or self-discharge. I think that's where I read on in the media, and that all families there are doing well. So could have been worse. But yeah, that's now in the hands of our authorities to investigate, and I'm just happy that it wasn't any worse. But from all accounts, though, it looks as though the final night of Pirates Week, they really brought it home, which begs the question. There were international guests that were performing, right? And it was amazing, the crowd, and looking at the space, the pictures that I'm seeing. I'm sorry, I was at Cabana. It is what it is. And I had a blast. But I am so impressed at the amount of people that were out despite the rains. And even when the rain came down, people were just out. They were in the vibe. They were in the mood for the event, despite the disappointment with not being able to see the drone show. And FYI, from the ministry, that will now be done on Tuesday for whatever reason, that they made their video stating that, it was for safety reasons and whatever happened. Yeah. So, but I was very impressed for the amount of people understanding we had so much competing things happening. There was a football match, I think, that was happening we had Antigua, I think, that was playing our Cayman national team or whatever it was. There was some football match going on. Then we had the Christmas tree lighting, at Camana Bay, and they had a large showing. And then for the amount of people then that I observed going into town, family and friends were out there, and it's amazing. It looks as though, I would say at the end of the day, all events were pretty much well supported. So kudos to coming out there. But I did hear disappointment when they realized that the drone show was not happening. I did hear that. And it was really, really sad. So yeah, but let's see the show up on Tuesday. It's cold, Marshall. I can imagine. Yep. Yeah, Connor, you brute. I caught you. It's good evening. Yep, Miss Lucille over there in the UK. I am here, Sabrina, not sleeping yet. Stay safe. Blessings. Where is Michelma? Look like no, Michelma is still in a grieving stage, Miss Lucille. Remember, she had a tragic accident in her family with the loss of a nephew. So she's getting ready, if not already about to go. I think she's going next week. So I can understand her being absent from social media in this time of her loss. She is greatly missed. We know that. She is every podcast's dream, to be honest, because she definitely fills that spot for you. She keeps you going. And yeah, but that's why. So Miss Shalma is still there grieving the loss of her loved one, and she's going to be off for a couple of days. So again, our thoughts and prayers are with her. For everybody celebrating birthdays today, happy birthday. For everyone who celebrated them over the weekend, big shout outs to Carol. Yeah, she's still celebrating her birthday this weekend. She's my hairdresser, and I know she's going to be angry with me because, yeah, I didn't get to her brunch. Anyhow, long story, she'll deal with it. I'm quite sure she'll burn me the next time I sit in her chair, but that's what love is like between me and her. But for everyone, again, who is celebrated a birthday this weekend and is celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. And I wish you many, many more. But yeah, your participation is key. Your participation is key. And I want to get into a little bit of what is happening right now with what was actually, I'm going to find my notes here. What was actually, it was so much information this weekend. Oh, yes, Bon, yours were the 15th, Connie, Bonnie, OMG. Don't you worry, my sweet. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Connie, that's how bad it was. Oh, how bad of me. You see what happened? That's because you guys give me so much advance notice. Yes, 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 yes. Don't you worry. I'm going to do you. I'm going to do you up. You got to now, you got an opportunity to send me one or two more so that I can do a nice reel for you, please. Yeah. No. That one really slipped me, to be honest with you, Connie Bonnie. I'm going to be very honest with you. It was just a lot going on this weekend. And it's one thing doing it live, like during the week, but I really got to do that. But don't you worry. You are family. You're a fan. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, you were the 15th. You see? That's how we know we missed Shalma, because she would have reminded me. Oh, yes, she would have. But yeah, Connie, I hope you had a good weekend. Probably all pampered. You were probably somewhere getting all rubbed down, massaged, and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, remember, we still got your Ted Green thing. Got to arrange to get that to you. And to Monica as well. I know you were under the weather. We got to arrange for drop off for delivery for that for you. So there you go. But yeah, happy belated birthday to you, my sweet. But on Friday, the reason why I'm coming back is because this is a spillover into what is happening right now. Parliament is still on. And I've gotten a lot of feedback as well. Some a little concerned. Some are still somewhat in shock that it feels as though the country, I wouldn't use the word consulted, because in this space, you really have to do a lot of listening. And even though I will listen to the parliamentary sessions, and in this case now in Finance Committee, the key is to listen to people when they're actually explaining. They call you up and they're like, oh my God, you can hear panic and yeah, rub down some money at work. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'll take that conversation off air for you. I got some ideas for you. But yeah, a lot of persons called even today, just before the show. I was having some conversation with a number of individuals, regular citizens, small business owners, and all I could actually say in many cases, acknowledge their concerns, and to say that not the average Caymanian will not be impacted. I think to dispel that fear or to calm that fear, the government, Honorable Ralston Anglin, may have some more explaining to do. Because again, I guess because everything happened when it did on Friday, and pretty much all of these fees, the opposition is insisting that if things were handled different, and it's okay if you want to try a different style of how you're going to run Finance Committee, where let's say the House or how former administrations did it, they actually allowed ministers to do statements before as to let you know what's coming, what's going to be budgeted, like what outlines for each ministry is going to be done. After the premier stated, that the country will be hearing from each minister during the debate. The takeaway here is the debate. But then when the debate came, no one spoke. It seemed as though there was some cross communication there. And then you heard the opposition, mostly the member from Georgetown Central, saying, what's wrong? You've heard Mr. Roy McTaggart was aggrieved. You heard the leader of the opposition was aggrieved. Contrary to what anybody wants to say along political lines, who did water, who sold out, who, whatever the case may be. When you're down in Parliament and you're dealing with a budget, the country, you owe the country an explanation as to where these funds are being allocated. We have a budget of $2 billion split over 2 years, 1.25 billion per year. I think what I'm understanding from the members of the public that engaged with me and even the opposition, which only highlighted their concern, is that they felt that they needed to hear more from the government arm before, in detail, which, as explained by the chairman of Finance Committee, that in Finance Committee, this is where you dissect line by line, where every dime is allotted for, where it's going, and then it's up to the opposition then to ask their questions for justification during the Finance Committee, and then they will answer. It may have been for expedience that they changed the style of doing it, but then where does that leave you, the public, is where it comes in. Because even though when the budget was being debated and he tabled the budget, the details that is in this right now, the public, the opposition, you members of society only realize that in its true nitty-gritty form on Friday. Don't you, what I'm getting away from the conversations that were ensued is that even though it is split right now that we're taxing or targeting expatriates with higher fees that are proposed, these, in many cases, work permit submissions are paid for by Caymanian-owned businesses. Right to work applications, which is a right to be Caymanian, grounds of naturalization, grounds of marriage, is paid for by Caymanians. And when you're looking at curtailing frivolous or convenient marriages, it's not going to stop it. It's really not going to stop it. And then you're looking even at driver's license fees, again, targeting expatriates. Who is going to pay those? If I have a trucking company, I'm a Caymanian owner, I have a trucking company, and I know a lot of my young Caymanians who has a second trade, they have a full-time job, and they may have a trucking company to provide additional income, and they have to get a driver or drivers to truck, let's say aggregate or something. 90% the time that may be someone who's not Caymanian. The heighten in these fees more than likely then will be levied, if not shared equally in part by the Caymanian. So to just use a blanket statement to say that it will not impact or direct impact on the local market, that is only for certain sectors. And I feel, because I'm hearing this repeated since Friday, and people had to absorb it over the weekend, that they're not convinced that eventually it will not impact the local market. Straight up. Because when you look at it, filing fees for work permits, not to say that they're not justifiable, but in this current climate where people are being inflationary costs, the geopolitical climate, when you're looking at all of the different cost of living that is being increased, and then you're doing these across the board, indirectly it will actually trickle down to either more exploitation of foreign workers. I got a call today that says there's a lady right now working in a service industry, small business for a local bar. And unfortunately, the young lady is here, and out of 3 months, she has only been paid once. $250 every 2 weeks. And in 3 months, she's only received payment of once. And at the end of the day, the justification for it is because the employer is providing board, housing. That's not what is declared on the work permit. And what was actually threatened of the staff, mind you, ain't no Caymanian, let's say servers or bartenders going to go to hold those jobs, because at the end of the day, there are just certain jobs in the Cayman Islands, as it is all over the world, Caymanians will not do. Caymanians will not do it. They're not going to do it. But what it is happening is that right now, since Friday, in certain industries, certain sectors, there are some bosses that are saying, oh yeah, well, if these fees are going to come in effect come January 1st, I better do what I got to do. It's like they're already tightening the belts and the braces, and they're already breaching immigration laws by not paying salaries. And the trade-off is, you come here, you work for me, I'm going to put you up, shut up, I'll pay you. You live on tips. You live on tips. But the work permit says something else. Sabrina Speaks family, it's real. It is happening. It is happening as we speak. They're already adjusting their sails. And unfortunately, no, these persons are not going to report, because in these environments, they are still threatening that they have friends and family working in these departments, and nothing will come of it. What is actually being thrown at a lot of them is that you can't see we want immigration reform anyhow, that is mind-blowing to me, because the mere fact that you have expatriate workers working in your place of business, and I guess because they tolerate the bad behavior that you display to them as their employer, holding the work permit over their head. And obviously where these people are coming from, they would prefer to put up with that treatment than to actually go back to their home country, and they can't even report it. That speaks a lot of volumes of some of the unscrupulous behavior being exhibited by some of our employers. So what I'm saying is, it's real as to what's happening right now in some of these, whether or not you are supportive of some of these local bars or restaurants, whatever the case may be, because those liquor licenses, that fees that you saw me read out, that didn't have non-Caymanians. It had a liquor license and fees. It is what it is. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. How are you?
Good evening. I am good. How are you?
I'm
You're on a roll.
Yes, ma'am. No, it's amazing. I just got so much information because people really engaged with me this weekend, and I'm getting it live. I'm trying to listen to the finance committee, and I'm trying to be as nonpartisan as possible, but to let it out there that our Caymanians, Miss Barbara, are not speaking. And there are a lot of indigenous Caymanians that are a bit concerned as to how this was just thrown. They understand government has to make money, but it's very obvious that they're targeting expats, and there may be some legal concerns about how this implementation has been done. They're not against some of it, but how it's being done, there could be some challenges. Now, whether the government consulted with their in-house legal counsel, did they consult with the employment of statistics? Because when this was done versus when some report was given, it was even questionable. So go ahead. Don't want to take away from you.
Well, my concern has always been, I guess I would have to say forever, because I have reported and complained to government. You're talking about having people come in and being taken advantage of that are working because they live in they don't pay them a fair wage,
Mm-hmm.
and our government is allowing people to hire one person, paying to maybe 8 to 1,200 a month for caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
Now that person is expected to work 24/7
Not
because
according
there's
to
no
the work
second.
permit. Not according to the
Ho-
work permit. You see, there's
Listen
no
to me.
enforcement. There's
That,
nobody
that,
double checking it.
well, let me tell you, I have reported it up and down. And when my brother
Mm-hmm.
was in need of helpers, and he was in the hospital because he was completely paralyzed. He was multiple strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said to the doctor, I needed two letters for two helpers. They were saying, "No, you don't. You can just use one." I said, "Would you work 24/7 for somebody?"
Huh.
I said, "That's just you. That is just modern day slavery."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said, "You know what? I either get two helpers, or you have to keep him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you." The next day, I got the two letters.
Right.
But they are making it okay to hire people. I know one right now that I have been telling her she should not be working this 24 hours. She gets a part of one day off per week, a
Mm-hmm.
part. And that is a 24-hour job for 1,200 a month. Come on, be for real.
Oh my.
This is a client that Cynical pays for her. These are older people, and but that's not the only one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of them are only getting paid 800 a month because they're living in. They don't have any choice. They're prisoners.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that has always been my complaint. It's
Mm-hmm.
unfair. I cannot expect to do to someone what I would not want done to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
you're not going to get Caymanians. Number
exactly.
one, you talk about you said Caymanians not going to do housework, but a lot of Caymanians won't hire Caymanians because we're too small a country. Everybody know everybody, and
Yes.
everybody know everybody.
Yeah. Well, I heard that from a number of persons. That was the
Yes,
concern.
because
I
common
don't
sense
want
is
my own
common
in
sense.
my house because we all know each other and my business is going to be all over the place. So I prefer to
Correct.
employ somebody that I get to know,
Hmm.
but at least it's not a local. So like it is in the United States and Canada, all around the world, there's always going to be a small sector, certain jobs that your locals will
Hmm.
not do. And not only
Correct.
that, but your own indigenous people will not employ
Correct.
locals into their home.
Correct. Yeah, you've got to think once, twice, or maybe four times before you even think about doing that.
Mm-hmm,
'Cause
mm-hmm.
it's too close.
Yeah, yeah.
It is too close.
Mm-hmm. Now, at the end,
Familiarity breeds contempt.
correct. And
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
my love, for your feedback. Yes, yes, yes.
Stop.
Sure, bye-bye. I said, thank you, caller. Yes, there you go. So that's another one agreeing with you, Miss Barb's. Definitely. But yeah, there are just some of these job titles that came on. I have had numerous of conversations with even some of our seniors, and they are, well, I don't know what's going to happen when my helper gone now because I don't want him in my house. That's what you're getting, right? But there is also a different sector as well that skills. I have spoken to a number of people, and I know Johan had called the other day. I have spoken to a number of persons in the construction industry. And let me tell you something. It's not that any Caymanian company would not want to employ Caymanians over work permit holders, even before some of these new fees that they're talking about right now will go into effect come January 1st, should they be passed. Anybody between that in the construction industry and the workman's compensation that they have to pay, medical, pension, all of that sort of stuff in the construction industry that is required by law. When you look at all of that, this $8.50 that come into play did not impact the construction industry. But whether you like to hear this or not, We are Caymanian society. Yes, we are the gem of the Caribbean. But I'm telling you, that luster is fading based on how certain things right now are being implemented. There are Caymanians that are speaking. There are Caymanians that are fearful. There are Caymanians that are rejoicing over this, but there are also Caymanians that are already feeling the impact of some of these persons leaving, and they're trying to replace them with their very own Caymanians. But then again, some of the reports receiving back is that, especially in the construction industry, when you check their resumes, they have gone through 7 employers in less than 1 year. They have multiple employers. They're not consistent with coming back to work. Please do not read me wrong. I am not saying this is every Caymanian. But you see, in certain industries, when contracts, deadlines, skill sets, specialty skills are needed, you cannot mess with a person's income when it comes to running their business efficiently and calling names on work permit to say, well, I'm going to hold up this work permit because you need to employ Connie Palmer. Connie is the one that you need to apply. I heard that she applied. But Connie Palmer, I gave her a chance, and maybe her personality doesn't work with the environment. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? But that may be a little far-fetched. Connie Palmer, if Connie was a drywall installer, but she's only good as a drywall installer, helper until she perfects the craft, the skill. Who would you want? It's not that you have anything with Connie, you know. It's not that you have any issues with employing Connie. But if Shaka Zulu is a male, because I don't know who Shaka Zulu is. If Shaka Zulu, for example, or Jim Norris is the one that I want, but he's on the work permit. He has 10 years experience. He worked with me for 5-10 years. He comes back. I would want him because I know Jim is willing to work with Connie in order to upskill her. All during that time, they're waiting. And the board then holds up the work permit at the end of the day, waiting for Connie to be caught up to speed. But yet there's deadlines. The developers are complaining, I'm left behind. But guess what's happening now? You know how much, and I want my Caymanian contractors to start speaking to these members of government, because you cannot remain quiet. There are a lot of persons out there right now, Caymanians in the construction industry, that are actually actively seeking skill set men in all sectors of construction, be it to finish work that's about to start, and they're just not available. They are looking to hire locals, but even when they try with them, there's no consistency. I need the people in the industries. If you have groups, I think there's a construction association thing. You guys may actually need to speak to them. There's a Chamber of Commerce. You all need to start speaking to these organizations, because right now you may be fearful of losing a contract, but at the end of the day, if the skill sets are not here, we do not have sufficient locals that can do these jobs at pace, that you then end up getting a lawsuit or worse, just don't have the manpower to finish it on time. There are groups out here that are supposed to be advocates in your best interest, but more so, the policymakers, your elected arm, they have a right to listen to you. They have a right to hear you out. Now, that's only access to the skill set. They, on Friday, then had to absorb all of the different fees now that are being imposed on them. Government has to make revenue. We agree that. But the whole immigration reform in the first place was to really cut back on work permits. But yet there's a number forecasted on how much work permit fees revenues will bring into the government, which is millions. Guys, I feel that on your behalf, as members of civil society, that the chairman needs to do some sort of explanation to calm you, and then just make it, I guess, in time, you will see whether or not this is going to work. But I heard a question being asked on the floor of Parliament, whether or not, the necessary persons were consulted about, especially when it came to the driver's license for expatriates, whether or not that was even legal from the Attorney General perspective. Those questions were asking who is guiding this government to do that. But they do have in-house legal counsel. I am telling you, this is not an expat Caymanian thing. This is going to impact every one of us here, directly and indirectly. Now, to tell you, remember last week, I said numerous times, it's hard. Yes, it is, Connie. It is hard running a country, making sure that your jurisdiction remains attractive enough that it's creating an environment that persons would want to come and do business. But you see, when your people are left out, you see, when the very same people, because we cannot deny that this country depends a lot on imported labor. That has not been disagreed by even on the floor of Parliament. They may not have said it in the same words, but even the elected arm agrees with that. But yet, if those are the ones we're exploiting, and even some of the employers, they are rejoicing that it almost looks as though with certain things being implemented, they're tightening the nooses around the very same expats that are running their businesses. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. They are deserving of being treated like human beings. You heard the caller said some of these people are working 24 hours with half a day off. That is in breach of labor laws. Can you imagine? Let's say all people realize where we're going, and they said, you know what? We're not coming back here. We're going to leave. I'm quite sure a number of you would say, well, go. We will just get somebody else. Really? Hold on. Make that happen in masses. Make it happen in masses, and it's your loved one. Even the work permit fees, the filing fees, some of those people have work permit holders as caregivers that are not through Synacor or DAF. The filing fees alone, that additional $150, could be the difference in them keeping on their lights. We have an aging society, even in our sister islands. But if there's no discussions, whatever, Houston, we have a problem. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind? Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Here talking about construction, one of my passions.
Oh, yeah. I recognize a voice, you brute. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good.
You see, the problem is, right? I'll tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when a construction company hires somebody on work permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They know how, first of all, they don't have enough job to keep them employed all year round. Right? That's number one. Right? I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Right? Don't care which company out there.
Okay.
One person out there could probably hire somebody with permit is the top 10 construction companies that is way up there, and they don't do that because they subsidize most of their work, right?
Correct.
So the small man that got his little construction company, he go get somebody on permit, right? He got a little contract. That little contract the last 3 months or 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
He go get a permit out for a year. So the problem is that I gonna, when that contract is over, that man on that work permit can be freelancing. You see? That's the problem that they got control. If they would do more, what you call it, vetting when they're giving out these permits. Well, no, you only got one job, and it's a 3 month contract.
But what if the contract
get a 3 month permit?
What if the contract, remember, they used to have say that it's longer than what it should be, knowing that it's only 3 months. Remember?
No, but they got to show you that the immigration. This is what I'm saying. No, they got to show you that the immigration or present the document saying that they got this work to last for 6 months,
Mhm.
or they got a contract signed for 3 months or whatever.
Mhm.
So based on the permit that they gonna get,
Mhm.
because once they finish now a job, a 6 month contract what they had, that worker's gone free. They let the worker go free. Oh, I lend my worker to this, I lend my worker to that one. All that can be done because what you're doing, you're messing up all the contractors out there now. They got job going on.
Right.
This man out there freelancing. Oh, I could do it for this, and then do substandard work and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Or even if you don't do substandard work, you do it for less.
Right.
That's interfering with the job that a Caymanian could be doing. So that's the problem that I got. If you want to straighten this thing up, the only how that you're gonna get this thing straightened up is if you don't give no permits for residential construction over 3,000 square feet. Anything under 3,000 square feet,
Mhm.
you're not getting no work permit on the job. Only on them big jobs, them 10-story buildings and thing what a building, they could get people on permit. But anything under 3,000 permit, under 3,000
Square feet.
square feet, they shouldn't have no permit. All that should be for Caymanians only.
But what
The young-
happens?
The young people that leave in school and stuff, that they want to get into it and do it.
But do
I
you think?
appreciate because I got plenty of workers that come. Go ahead.
Do you think then that because we lack the skill sets, and I see Damian Henry commenting about the cry for trade schools and all that sort of stuff. I understand your approach. Okay. I hear what you said. But then what happens then to all of the small construction companies out there if they're only limited or barred from getting work permit when we've already identified and confirmed that we do not have adequately available Caymanians in order to fill these roles with the necessary skill sets that would give you quality and not compromise the quality of work? So what's your thought on that?
Slowly, they're gonna have to get into using Caymanian workers. Slowly.
Yeah,
It's
gotcha.
not gonna happen overnight. You see people thinking this can happen at the snap of a finger. This not gonna happen at the snap of a finger. It gonna take slowly. It gonna take slowly. People, the children leaving out of school, and you hire them. That's how I got into the trade. I've been working in the trade from time I was 12 years old.
Right.
You know, I did it on summer vacation, and then when I got out of school, I just worked my way up the ladder. So the same thing, just learn it stage by stage. So it's plenty of people out there that is willing to do it. Now, what I'm telling you now, the big time construction,
The big companies,
jobs,
yeah,
anything over 3,000 square feet, they're allowed to use people on work permit if they want. But anything under 3,000 square feet, if you're doing a building under 3,000 square feet, it's not supposed to be neither foreign worker there.
But then at the end of the day, they in turn are subcontracting to some of the smaller ones.
No, but you could find help. You could find Caymanian workers to work into that. You see, the Caymanians don't want to work on them big job sites.
Oh.
They would prefer residential buildings and stuff. A Caymanian, he want how he own business.
Gotcha.
He don't want to work for nobody.
Understood.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's fair.
The kind of thing
That's fair.
We got to keep on making space. We got to keep on making space for them. Some of the people that got retired, they're not retired. They're still in it, and they're getting people on work permit, and they just got a business license. They're supposed to be retired. You know, but that's how the system is. Okay, they want to continue to make a living even beyond retirement age. Well, okay, use Caymanians, train Caymanians, make it. You got to force their hand. You know, this is what I'm talking about. In some instance, you got to force their hand to use it. Tell them, well, all right, and I can't find no Caymanian. I hope we're gonna cut it down. It sounds drastic. I bet you then they'll find Caymanians.
But
I use this Caymanians. I not gonna problem finding Caymanians.
Right.
If I hire one and do one on a job this week, next week he don't come again. He go and work with somebody else. Well, I find another one to work. I'm not gonna control over that.
Right.
You're not gonna control
Because
over
it's
that.
freedom of movement
You
of
know, then-
Caymanians, yeah. But
exactly.
what do you
It ain't enough to work, but then they're coming up, and we gotta break them into the system that they go into that field. You
Well,
know, anything over 3,000 square feet, you don't get no bottom from on work permit.
well, I
You know?
think
It could be done. It could be done.
not disagreeing with you. I just feel that you guys in the construction industry, and there's a comment on the thing. What if kids don't want to do that kind of work? What happen if? But right now we're focusing on the construction industry, right? Because that's where a lot of the conversations are being had. And I'm happy, caller, that you can put a different light on this in that industry, because what you're hearing is that good for you, you finding the Caymanians, but some of the employers are saying even if they find them, they don't stay. And like what we agreed, we acknowledge the freedom of movement. But what happens when a company is looking for stability, at least to finish a project or a contract? What happens to those type of persons, caller?
Take them out of school and train them. Get a bunch of young thing. I mean, you okay. This is something else that the government could do. I suggested this too, right? If they want to listen, the government. Nobody got doing it, but they're not doing it because of other reasons. Okay, don't get permit for laborers in the construction field. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, you can only hire Caymanian laborers. If you got Caymanian carpenters or Caymanian tradesmen, well, that's good. You hire them. But I'm just saying, no permits allowed for construction laborers. And if you want to categorize it again, well, then put it under that square footage, under 3,000 square foot project. If they want to go, of course, on them 10-story building and stuff, you need hundreds of men.
Right.
So that is something different. But I'm just talking about residential construction, remodeling, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're doing a little sense. Contractors doing a little sense, and they got 10 people who done work permit. I mean, come on now, man. It's ridiculous. You know what? You're getting too used to foreign labor. I call it be addicted to foreign labor. That's an addiction. And then once you get addicted, you're gonna say, no, I can't do no better.
Right.
You know. But if you treat the Caymanian right, that's a different story. You know, treat them right and pay them right, and then they gotta stay. The youths that is in school who want to get into construction, they get into construction. But the thing is, make it available for them. Right now, we're not available. Them the young boys and things, they don't want to go out and work with no foreigners. They want to work with their own people. But I tell you the truth, they just come out fresh out of the other like them in community college and things. They don't want to go on job site with the senior foreigners. That's the truth.
Okay.
You know? So if they were on a job site with more Caymanians they would get into the trade more. You know, they're not allowing them. They're not teaching them when them young boys go on the site thing. They're not teaching them. You know, that's the thing. They don't feel welcome. They don't feel appreciated. You got a certain management skill and all that to let the workers feel welcome. You know, all that you got to do is half of these employers that just got business license in construction. They're not worrying about that. I just make me my money. That's it. You know, it goes beyond that. You know, so that's what I got to say.
But what do you say then about the driver's license fees then that is increased for those non-Caymanians? I mean, let's say you have somebody, let's say you got a trucking company, right? And you can only drive one vehicle at a time. How much of our own is we know that a lot of those drivers are not from here. If they're not married to Caymanians, they're someone that helps you drive those because of the tonnage. That fee more than likely will be passed on to the Caymanian small business owner. What's your take on that? Because some of these fees now are increased as well. The driver's license fees for heavy equipment and special vehicles for non-Caymanians. A 3-year license will increase from $120 to $750.
Let them get Caymanians again.
Okay.
They could pick up the workers, keep them off of the road, keep them off the road. There'll be less traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them off the road. Send out one bus with one Cayman driver to pick up all the workers in the morning, pick them up in the evening. Not strange. That happens in other countries.
No, but I'm talking about like for those persons for the heavy equipment, for those drained, them aggregate workers. Teach them how to do it. Then they get group 4 license.
Yeah, lawn Caymanians out to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lawn Caymanians out to drive.
Okay.
Anyone would like to do that, then I do construction, they would like to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
All throughout, it's not gonna happen overnight. You see people keep on thinking it's gonna be a microwave solution. It's not gonna be a microwave solution. Because we're not starting to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start.
Mm-hmm.
We
Gotcha.
got to start, and then slowly, we gonna get out of this addiction of foreign labor.
Gotcha. Hear you. Good hearing you. Yeah, man. All right. Thank you. Good to hear from that caller. Hey, Denver, how are you doing this evening, my dear? We got just to keep up with some of the comments while that caller was participating. 936-8255 is the number to call to get your opinion on some of these things in regards to what's happening. And I'm seeing where persons are saying that if they were given the option, this is an expatriate. What I'm saying is give us the option if we want to leave and don't return. I am getting the fact that that is persons being able to tap into their insurance, but they are saying that that money is until they get age 65. So Ray John is saying that they would opt to leave based on what they're seeing here, if based on having access to their pension. So that's a different statement being made there. Barbara G, a simple solution would be to have a fee for an extra month only for a 3 months to 1 year. What the caller was alluding to in regards to 1 year work permits being granted, and let's say a project is only 3 months, that then the work permit remains in effect, but then the employer do not have sufficient work for the worker to do. What happens many a times is that sometimes these jobs are finished before, and when these work permits are being applied for, there is a list declaring the amount of works that that company has lined up. And the contract should actually accompany that work permit application that will show that the company itself has sufficient work for that employee to engage in for the duration of time of the work permit. But we all know it's a case-by-case application. Some of these contracts could fall through, some of them could be delayed, but they still have the work permit, the worker there. And this is why this freelancing is happening. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the show. How are you? What's on your mind?
Evening.
Mm-hmm.
The fees that they're
Proposing.
on non-Caymanians. Do you identify the free cheese in that proposal?
Look here, I'm just trying to get over it that locks. I think, caller, free cheese is one thing. The forecasting of what they're estimating to actually make in certain industries, I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm hoping that they had some serious sit down with ESO before coming up with these numbers, and the factoring of they must be sure that they're totally dependent on getting these type of revenues in order to successfully pass this budget. But what if it goes south and they don't get these revenues? What happens?
Well, whether they get the revenues or not, it should be obvious to everyone that the customer foots the bill. So what do you mean it's not going to affect us? Right?
But that's what I'm saying. They're saying, no,
Yes,
it's not going to affect. They are assuring that the common citizen, domestic market is not going to be impacted. And I do not know. I think they're playing on our people's ignorance. And this is what we have been talking about on this space for so long.
Let me give you a tip. Now, I'll never say this publicly, okay?
No, because you're just talking to me.
But the way that you can tell when a politician is lying is you just check to see if their lips are moving.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Anybody who tells you that you're going to apply those types of fees and then turn around and tell you that you're not going to be, where do you think anybody who's being hired is going to place those fees?
Mm-hmm.
In their goods and services.
Mm-hmm.
This is not rocket science.
Mm-hmm.
This is basic business. I know that many times the government fails to recognize basic concepts, but that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing you need to focus on. The UK has implemented a mandatory
Uh-huh.
digital ID.
Yes, I was going to go into that. Oh, yeah.
And what Caymanians are focused on is that in Cayman it's voluntary.
But this is mandatory over there now.
Well, right now in the legislature, the Cayman Islands government is debating proposals that would lead to mandatory
Mm-hmm.
digital ID,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just called
Mhm.
voluntary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because think about what it means when you have to go and pay one
Yeah.
of these fees.
Correct.
You're
Correct.
going to have to prove
Yeah.
whether you're Caymanian or not.
Yeah.
And so it will result in everything you go to do. This should be obvious. It's going to result in everything you doing requiring you to associate an ID with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't all that they have planned for us. You wait until they get to start to implement policies that deal with climate. All right. Let me give you an example what a climate policy is. You want to go on a trip to the US or somewhere else. Well, aircraft travel is considered to be one of the dirtiest ways, that in shipping,
Mm-hmm.
which is your cruise ships, one of the dirtiest ways of traveling, according to them. And they want to clamp down on that. And so, depending on how many times for the year you wish to fly, when you pull out your card to buy the ticket, you
Mhm.
might hear, well, you've exceeded your carbon limit.
Yeah. Carbon footprint. Mm-hmm.
And so we can't allow this transaction to occur. You wait until those types of transactions start to happen.
Danny, you're too far. You're just going too far. That will never happen because that's not what we're told.
Anybody who tells you something other than what I just told you is lying to you. Now, it may take you longer a while to understand that what I'm saying is what their plans are. But when you get the refusal, the first person that's going to pop into your mind is me. As I told you,
Mm-hmm.
their plans for us, this is not just Cayman. What the Cayman Islands is doing is plugging into an international system of absolute control. If that's the kind of life that you want, go ahead and you sign up. But if it is not the kind of life that you want, I recommend strongly that you find the courage to open your mouth
Mm-hmm.
and tell your politician to stop. This is not a joke. When the UK Prime Minister says you will not be able to work, they intend to fulfill that.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that that threatens the most basic human right of all, which is the right to life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't work, how are you going to feed your children?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to feed yourself? What they're essentially doing is they're saying, we're going to put a condition on a right next to your right to life. And the reason why they do it this way is because it's complex enough that the average person will get confused or
Mhm.
might not believe what's being told to them. That's just scaremongering, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But remember, that's how free cheese and a rat trap work.
Hmm.
The homeowner doesn't come chasing the rat with a broom. What they do is they quietly put some free cheese on a mechanical device
Hmm.
that breaks their neck.
Well, I know one thing for sure. What is being pushed right now, and I think that's what has the UK people up in arms, is because what has been sold to them is that it is going to lessen paperwork. It's going to, make delays in providing you, delays are going to be limited, and no more piles of paperwork to do. And it just sounds convenient for ease of life, right? But then
Well,
when you look by 2029, they won't be able to get a job without it yet. They're like, it's no, that's not true. That's not true.
well, uh, for those who are old enough to remember, we were promised that computers
Yeah.
will will do away with the cutting down too many trees by cutting down on paperwork.
Hmm.
How's that worked out for you?
There you go. Only now you got more paper. But I mean, when you're looking at it, and I'm hearing more and more internationally that critics are warning that this is a slippery slope, but how it's being enforced or pressed on the British people. And the reason why it really rung bells to me is because, yes, you did pop into my mind. I said, Denny has been sounding these alarms for as long as I can remember. You have definitely come on this space, and you have spoken about it loudly. We have looked at the Constitution. We have pretty much tried to ventilate it as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it boils down to exactly what you said just now. How long can you remain silent? Go and speak to your politicians. But then, if looking at these fees that are now being imposed on us and saying this is not going to impact us, and you're looking right in the face, and anyone who is awake will see it will have a direct impact on us, understanding it is born on the seed of good with reform. It's how it was done by perception is where I'm thinking the people are losing faith in
In
what
in
they're hearing.
in some fairness to the current government,
Yeah.
the previous government put us in a much less desirable financial position by spending at the last moment a tremendous amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a school
Mm-hmm. Which
that
signed,
I'm
sealed,
not
and delivered. You couldn't back out of
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, but you see, what I'm saying is that we are we're this is the consequence of those types of reckless behaviors.
Which speaks a lot of the individuals that we're electing to political office.
And the individuals electing those persons to office who are failing to hold them accountable.
Because
But
they're fearful that they will not get the contracts, that they will not get on a board. And, oh, they don't want to be a Danny. They don't want to be a Sabrina. Because if they speak out, then they'll be blackballed.
they're going to find out the hard way, right? Just like the gazelle that's being strangled by the python.
Mm-hmm.
I dare you to breathe out, okay?
Mm-hmm. Because it's
Because
just
when
going
you
to get
breathe out,
tighter.
you won't be able to take another breath, and that's what's going to happen. But I want to talk about one more thing with this digital ID.
Go ahead.
This is the infrastructure for the mark of the beast. In the book of Revelations, it talks about three elements. One is the right, you won't be able to buy or sell without it. That's what's happening right now. It's a mark on your forehead, which I believe speaks to a belief system that you subscribe to.
In your mind,
And
perception.
and and it's a mark in your right hand. Okay? The current government is on record as saying that they want to make it mandatory. And you need to appreciate that this is not just a card for the Cayman Islands. This is a card that is globally unique. It subscribes to standards that meet that satisfies the global goal.
Mm-hmm.
People outside of the Cayman Islands will be able to track and control you in ways that they see fit. Even if the local government themselves, let's say, get converted, get saved, repent of their sins, and decide not to control us at all, even if they don't, the infrastructure will be there for the world to control us as they see fit.
But then, as a British overseas territory, we often follow the UK's
We
lead.
do not, yes, but following is a choice.
Gotcha.
We have a separate legal system
Mm-hmm.
because we can do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just because the world wants to jump off a cliff doesn't mean we have to follow. In fact, my argument is if you don't follow, you'll make Cayman even more of a paradise. But in that situation, I suggest you have good immigration policy
Uh-huh.
because everybody's going to want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But what you have to appreciate about the mark of the beast, whether you believe in God or not, this is a choice you're going to have to make for yourself. When the system is implemented and the beast begins his whatever the philosophy is that he's going to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you accept that, you write yourself off when it comes to heaven. Okay? I'm not saying that the Cayman Islands government is the beast. I'm saying that they're putting in the infrastructure that the beast will use. For the first time in the history of the world, there is a mechanism. It is practical. It is efficient. It requires not as much effort as you might think
Mm-hmm.
to literally control the entire world. And you know what AI really and truly is seeking to do?
What?
To replace the entity we call God. The reason for that is because we are looking to it for the intelligence, is why they refer to it as super intelligence. That's the human version of a supreme, knowledgeable entity. And AI will control the algorithms that control the smart contracts that will make the decisions when you walk up to the counter and say, I want to buy a plane ticket.
Mm-hmm.
AI is going to look at all of what it's been instructed to do by its programmers, and it's going to say, well, you've already had too many plane rides for the year. So I'm sorry, you can't do this one. And it's going to be not just plane rides, it's everything. If you don't believe me, you go on MasterCard's website.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were testing it in Canada since, I think, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
On MasterCard's own website,
Mm-hmm.
they tell you they're going to estimate what the carbon footprint of the purchase you are proposing to make before they authorize whether you can use their MasterCard to make the purchase. Now, let me ask you this question.
Oh, wow.
If I sent you the link, actually,
Yeah, you
so
did.
you can share it with the public.
You did.
And here is what you need to understand. What they want to do is to have what is called a central bank digital currency,
Mm-hmm.
which is programmable. They want to do away with cash. I went to an agency of government today and they said, we don't accept cash. Now,
Where?
I
Here?
thought, yes, in the Cayman Islands. Yes, the RCIPS. Okay. In other words, the
Your 800 credit scores.
the currency that the king says should be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
The king's servants are saying, no, we're not going to accept that. We require this to be digital. And let me tell you what's going to happen when it is all digital and they decline your MasterCard. How are you going to make the purchase?
Mm-hmm. You're not. Because
That's
then you
right.
can't use cash.
That's right.
Because it's not going to
And-
be accepted.
Right. And what happens when there's a glitch in the system and it's down? And oh, by the way, there's a major hurricane.
Like what
How
happening
much
in
of-
Jamaica.
How much of that digital currency will you be able to pull out of the bank
Correct.
and put in your pocket
Correct.
as a contingency to go down to the supermarket and get some food?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
won't be able to do it.
But Danny,
And-
how do you actually say, what do we have to do right now? Because it's what
Call
you're
up your
saying in
MP,
can't,
call
no,
up your MP.
you can't get
and-
them. Some people are saying
All right.
here on this space that you
Go
can't
and
get them.
pound on their door and tell them you do not want it. Stop. That's what there is no other option.
But remember, this is going to make life easier. This is going to make you transacting business, getting a police record, doing land transfers, just doing business throughout government agencies. It's going to just eliminate all of that.
And if I see a rat trap, I can have a full stomach of cheese too.
Okay.
But will I actually be able to finish the cheese before my neck is broken? No. Deception is one of the key characteristics of these times.
Mm-hmm.
Governments deceive people like crazy. The Bible says it will be that way. Jesus, when talking about the end times, gave two stark warnings. He said it's going to be like in the days of Noah
Mm-hmm.
and like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the characteristics that define those two periods is as follows. In the case of Noah, Noah was preaching that it was going to rain for 125
Yeah.
years.
And then the flood came, but he
In
insisted.
other words, there is this thing that's going to be said. No, he's saying that again. Oh, he's saying that
Mhm.
again. Oh, he's saying that again. But one day, you're not going to hear that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be consequences. That's a characteristic that Jesus said you need to be careful of with the end times. And the other, which is Sodom and Gomorrah, he said, remember Lot's wife.
Pillar of salt.
And what happened to Lot's
Listen.
wife
Mm-hmm.
was that as she was leaving, she just turned around
And look.
and looked back in regret for what she was giving up. Now, God had said, don't look back.
Mm-hmm.
All she did was turn her head and look back, and that was it. What
Mhm.
Jesus said is that the terror that's going to fall on mankind in the end times
Mm-hmm.
is going to be so fast that if you just as much as turn your head to look back instead of running to the hills to save your life,
Yeah.
you will lose your life. So you're not going to be able to sit around and us to pontificate about what we should do.
Mhm.
If you don't know what to do when the time comes, you're going to lose out.
I had a comment that came in as well, not live. Let me read this one. The real Michelle Teresa says, I mistakenly thought I was atheist until recently. This caller is speaking the truth. I now know to be true. Damien says, the government's plan to drastically increase driver's license and vehicle fees for non-Caymanians while exempting Caymanians is misguided. It creates unnecessary division with the community and sends the wrong message about fairness and equality. Revenue generation should never be based on nationality, and placing the burden of increased as high as 300% on one group is both short-sighted and unjust. Policies like this doesn't solve financial challenges. They simply create new social ones.
Well, I too agree that what you should do is you should price a service for just to, like, in terms of government is mainly looking to cover the cost and make a tiny bit, to provide other services, right?
Mhm.
As a way of collecting.
Mm-hmm.
But I too I don't like the idea of what they're doing by charging expats the way that they are. I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah,
What I would
I
prefer
agree.
that the government do is take a hard look at whether what we're doing in terms of regulation is actually necessary, and let's make collecting the revenue measures that we already have
Mhm.
be more efficient. Now I know they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and we really need to make sure that we're as efficient as possible
Mhm.
if we're going to be raising money, because raising borrowing more money is going to raise the cost of living. There's no two ways about that, because you have to pay interest,
Mhm.
right? I'm not suggesting that government should never borrow money. What
Right.
I'm suggesting is that instead of the default being let's raise fees, the default should be how can we be more efficient
Alternate
in what we're
revenue
doing?
ideas, yeah, because you can look
Because
at even tourism diversification. That was another thing that I talked about here. Understanding that our economy is heavily dependent right now on financial and tourism as well, right? But you can also look at green finance sustainability, right? We're already a financial hub. So when you look at positioning Cayman as a leader in, let's say, green bonds or even climate finance, sustainable investment funds, stuff like that. And then you got technology and innovation. We're looking at this cable to make sure that we are developing to again save the financial industry. Develop like a hub of fintech or something like that. We need to look at other areas that we can diversify our true. I'm not hearing that from what is being outlined. And then you got again education and training services. Look at here possibly being maybe a regional center in higher education. If we're all about financing and all that sort of stuff, or finance and banking, try to do that. Look at the healthcare infrastructure that we have here and all of the services that are being offered. Medical tourism. Looking at that even more closer to see maybe, well, what can we generate from all of these, where tuitions and all of that sort of stuff is coming from. So there's a number of things that we could possibly look at instead of just this gung-ho hard and fast that's really going to cause divide. I think we will have more breaches in immigration law. I think we will have more behaviors being unscrupulous by some of the employers. And if you do not get your enforcement arm upskilled and out there in their numbers, I'm sorry. The environment is going to become so toxic. And whether or not you're for or against expatriate workers, remember a lot of these expatriates that are working here right now are working for Caymanians.
yep, and the customer foots the bill.
Exactly.
And so that 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 has to be remembered. I mean, we should always be looking at how could we add new business to the country, right? But the point I want to make about government here
Mm-hmm.
is that instead of just of increasing the size and the cost of running. I could remember when Cayman's budget cost crossed 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard people gasp like,
And
wow,
now we're speaking billion.
billion,
Billion.
yeah, for the budget period,
Yeah.
right? So we need to really look at what we're spending to run this country. Because you have to realize that if the Cayman Islands was an aircraft, the cost of running government is labeled as drag,
Mm-hmm.
and planes can't fly well with too much drag.
Mm-hmm.
They crash. And we need to be careful we don't destroy the country because we don't have the courage to relook at how we're running the country and bringing the cost into a reasonable line. We're spending way too much money to run the country.
Correct. But I mean,
We
it,
need-
it it looks good on paper because when you're seeing it, right, the revenue generation without, as they're saying, without direct taxation, really rising the cost on these work permits as a deterrent. But we've already understand or realized that in time, transitionary, as the first caller alluded to, let's train up the Caymanians. Let's stop giving work permits for any construction company. This is construction industry, for the record, that conversation ensued. No one should be granted work permits if they're going to be building something under 3,000 square feet. But when you look at the rising costs and the work permit fees, you look at what's being proposed, banking that they're saying is not going to pass it on to their customers, insurance, licensing, to avoid introducing income tax, however you call it, which Caymanians generally oppose, right? And then you're looking at targeting the expat. This is why it looks good on paper. Targeting the expatriates because that is filling and checking a box that was shouted out loudly during a campaign. Politically, it will be easier to justify charging non-citizens more because that has been the mandate of the people on immigration reform. But there are challenges in practice that comes with certain things based on how it's rolled out.
Well, I don't think that Cayman looks as good on paper as
No, I
some
mean the
people think
budget
it.
for what's being proposed.
Okay. I'm listening to you.
Okay.
I'm just saying I don't think it looks as good on paper as some think. And like when the government says to the country, we're doing a good job of running the country.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what goes through my mind. Can young people afford to own a home within a reasonable period of time?
No.
Can we afford to have as many children as we used to?
Oh, no. That's even in the back of their mind.
I dare say to you that the quality of life is reducing, and that is not good management to me. Our quality of life, if anything, at the bare minimum, should be maintained at a level at which we can afford to replace the population by having at least 2.1 children. That's the bare minimum.
Right.
And if the government wants to brag about a good job they've done, then we should be able to afford to have 3 children. But if our circumstances are getting worse and you telling me that we're better off, I don't want to say what I think about that.
Yeah, because people are actually looking at all of these as indirect taxation. Call it what you want. You know, when you look at some of these things, caller, and everything, we know that our country has to make money. And as the chairman of the Finance Committee, the Minister of Finance said, you know, the last time something of this magnitude was done was back in 2012. But we were at different times then. Aliano, no, we were just talking about the different fees and all that sort of stuff. Good to see you. That's what we're talking about. It moved from one thing to the other and how it's going to have an indirect impact on Caymanians, despite our elected leaders saying that it will not really impact the local market. We are finding that hard to believe when you look at some of the fees that are being actually proposed right now. And caller, I'm just answering some comments that's on the screen. Go ahead.
Let me give you an example of things that I think is ridiculous. So I went to renew my, put in the application to renew my firearm license today.
Mm-hmm.
And what is prescribed in the regulations is 1 page that you fill out to renew your firearm license.
Mm-hmm.
I had to submit 9 pages
Well, what?
because the police commissioner said so.
Extra due
Now, I
diligence?
think it's not, no, listen, there's two forms. One is Form A for an initial application. This is the first time. That's 4 pages long. That asks you a lot more questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, when you're going to renew, you're eligible to use the Form F to renew because the purpose of the Form F is to make a declaration that there are no changes to the particulars of your
Your
situation.
safekeeping and yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everything is the same. So it's just like saying, yeah, everything is the same. But I have to provide 9 pages.
Is that
And
9
guess,
digital pages or 9 pages as in a
well,
document?
well, I'm glad you asked that question because I met with the police several years ago, and one of the suggestions I made is for us to be able to fill it out electronically and submit it electronically, including whatever attachments may be necessary, right? Well, they've made a digital form, but the digital form doesn't work.
Oh God.
I'll give you an example of one of the things that doesn't work. When I was probably 17 or 18, I can't remember. Maybe 18. I went to renew my driver's license. And when they came back with it, the driver's license had my father's name on it
Mm.
because they excluded the suffix junior.
Ah.
And I said, well, this is not my name. And they
Mm-hmm.
said, well, but we don't put suffix on the driver's license. I had to write the commissioner of police to get my proper name on my driver's license.
Oh wow.
Okay. All of these years later, I'm filling out a firearm application form, and there's no place to put a suffix on the form. So when I try to put the suffix at the end of my last name,
Mm-hmm.
it says that it has to be an alpha character. In
Mm.
other words, I can't put a space.
Space.
And there's numerous instances of that type of foolishness, including where I would put what the conditions are on the license. There's not enough space in the text box to hold the conditions of the license. Now, I've reported this to the police years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there broken. And you can, if you manage somehow to submit an electronic one, there's no way to upload the attachments.
That's just wrong coding. That's bad coding.
It,
That's easy.
well, it's not that the police doesn't know this, because I went out of my way to
Mm-hmm.
articulate exactly what was wrong
Right.
in exquisite detail. You know, like how I like to give too much information.
Mm-hmm. That's why they limit you.
Yeah. Well, they can't say they weren't told. And years later, it still isn't fixed. What that tells me is that we have a situation where they simply do not care. Now, they're
Well, what if you're
interested.
the only one that's complaining?
Well, that's probably the case because most other people are just too afraid. They think they'll lose their license if they somehow speak for themselves,
Oh my God.
which isn't really true.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why I said, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. But so the police won't accept cash now, right?
So how are you going to
The
pay?
police are demanding all sorts of information that you would put on Form A, the initial application, when you're submitting Form F, the renewal application. The excess bureaucracy
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely incredibly stupid, because what they're doing is they're making the police department be less efficient, when the purpose of the form is to just simply say, yep, nothing has changed. Here are my basic
Mm-hmm.
name, address, phone number, whatever. But none of the other particulars have changed since Form F.
Right.
I mean, since Form A, I should say, sorry. So um, that's an example of how government does not work. And I can only imagine the other areas in which it's being done.
Now, just for the sake of those who are just joining us, and thank you for everyone who are tuning in and commenting, your feedback is valuable. This is not here to beat up on the civil service. This is not here to beat up on the government. These are just comments that are being made, and it speaks volumes. And when you hear about a budget of I stand to be corrected, 2.5 billion
2.5 over the
over the
term.
2 year, over the term. These are things that shouldn't be. A commenter said 9 pages, that's half of a tree. And that's half a tree. And then there was another commenter earlier on saying that they're working in the legal firm in a legal world, and they're still printing things off in triplicate. Okay. But these are the things where you actually make these comments as constructive criticism, but the fear of being denied for whatever reasons of your license, or let's spread this across, even just commentary of why people are not reporting unscrupulous behaviors of employers because of fear. How are we
going to help us?
How are we? Yes. How are we helping ourselves?
We're not helping ourselves. And, as I was listening to you before I called, talk about how, people are expected to work ridiculous hours and there's not enough enforcement. The question came to my mind is, who is reporting the offense?
Yeah, that's it.
Because if you don't even have enough understanding to understand the importance of why it needs to be reported, and then the courage to report it, how is it that you expect anything?
There's no enforcement. Mm-hmm. And that's why then the unscrupulous behaviors continue.
Exactly.
Because the workers allow themselves to be exploited and they remain silent.
That's right. I remember seeing a video on YouTube. I think it was an Australian boy who was being bullied in school. And he was quite chubby. And, the cool guys were ganging up on him and, slapping him and pushing him against the wall and laughing at him and da, da, da. And he just got enough. He picked one of them up and body slammed down. Well, they then, the society then turned on him and really scolded him for doing that, because they thought that was wrong. It was aggressive. It was da 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 da. There's a group of people in our society that expect us to be abused and do nothing about it. Okay, the police department is one of those agencies. Now, I can tell you, I run into some awesome civil servants who give awesome service.
Yeah.
Okay, I go to the general registry. They know what they're talking about. They're friendly. They're helpful. They just listen. But there are some that just simply need to be fired.
Can't do that
because they are not an example of good civil servants. And we need, as a country, to look seriously at how we're running the country and whether we're doing things as efficient as we ought to be, and make the changes, because the cost is more than just the money. The cost is stressing people out in ways that are injuring their health, mentally and physically.
Well, I mean, this budget that they're doing is every person Caymanian that is here, money, you know. Denny and somebody, Miss
Yeah.
Lucille say I must give you a kaboom.
Very much.
And what people are not realizing is that when the politicians, when the ministers actually approve this budget, what they're going to do is each minister, when you hear those big numbers, when the ministers now present their budget, they're going to be doing an opening statement, right? That could have been, I don't know how long this finance committee could go on for, but I can see them trying to change up the style of this finance committee, right? Once this budget is approved and each minister is allocated whatever they come up to as a final number, right?
Mhm.
That money is now given to the ministry that they're responsible for assisting and overseeing from the political arm, hoping that the government, the civil service, will then deliver because they would have funded the civil servants for delivering. If that is staffing, if that is equipment for working smarter and not harder, like what you said, digitizing an application form, just automating stuff, I don't know. But if they fail to deliver that 1 point whatever 2 billion per year, the 2 point whatever billion, that's given to the civil service and hoping that they will deliver, you know, guys.
Yeah, well, I have a little theory about that.
Go ahead.
I know you can't do this on every single thing. It wouldn't be wise to. Some things are just too small to do it with. But on major projects that cost a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
it should be done, which is if you're in the private sector and you say you're going to bid on a project,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to talk about what you're going to do and how long it's going to take you to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Now, you can have unintended delays
Mm-hmm.
that could occur,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to uh, just accept that some of these things will happen. You have to give yourself a
Yeah,
little
leeway.
room for them,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, if somebody can show that something legitimately held them up, then it's reasonable to accept that the project will be a little late. But what is actually happening right now is that when politicians go to the House um, and and vote on the Appropriations Act,
Mm-hmm.
those major projects should require civil servants to be bound by a reasonable timeline to complete those major projects so that you don't have a repeat of what happened with a certain mental facility.
Mm-hmm. Pontiana,
Okay.
call it. It is what it is.
And so
Save with the exception of COVID.
right, because if you put that in the Appropriations Act, then they are bound to carry out what is in that act.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a time isn't being put in, which is why it could take forever. And people will think that it's the minister not doing it, but really and truly it's the civil servants not doing it on time.
You're just
That-
you're just shattering the ceilings here this evening.
Well, that one change might seem very minor, will give the legal room that you need to say to civil servants, well, look, this is a reasonable timeline. We've accounted for all of the things we could think about that could go wrong. And we've decided that this time frame is reasonable, so we need the project delivered in that time. If we give you the money, we want the work done. If the work isn't done, they would have to show, you know, the owner of the contractor died or whatever the reason was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to explain why it wasn't done on time. But this open-ended thing that they can just take as long as they want, That needs to end in a heartbeat.
But even if you get dates and you report back to the people as a minister, there's no way of the minister holding them accountable to those dates because they're not allowed to interfere with day-to-day operations.
Well,
And I know that's tongue in cheek, but that's a fact. And because the operational arm knows that little to no accountability can be exerted by the minister, then you're left at the mercies of their directors, or in this case, the deputy governor, to hold them accountable
well,
for deliverables.
so you're telling me that the only entity in the country in which non-performance is acceptable is in government, and that there should be no consequences for poor performance. None at all. But there should be rewards for good performance. We need to stop thinking that foolishness, because we cannot have a situation where you give people hundreds of millions of dollars and there is no accountability. And do you know that? Do you know that the reason why they get away with that is because we allow it?
We, as in the
We
civil
as in-
society?
Yes, we as a whole, we shape what goes into the Constitution. Okay, and I know that you have the UK element, but I would like to hear the UK argue no, civil servants should be allowed to just take as long as they feel like to get it done. That's okay. I would like to hear the UK argue that position.
But isn't this the same thing that is being actually stated by a number of elected members around the world? The same thing that you're actually pointing out right now. The pace in which the civil service responds is not unique here. We even have the real Michelle that is saying it's happening all around the world. But is it good enough? Do we have to follow suit? I feel that the
No.
people of any country deserves better performance and deliverables by the civil servants.
You know why? You know why I say what I think should be done?
What?
Because as a member of society, that's part of my obligations to society. I feel that if I think something should be done differently, I should say so.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why when the RCIPS, in the context of renewing firearm licenses, do things that I think is wrong, I tell them. So that they can't say, well, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not telling them because I, don't want them to be successful in what they're doing.
It's
I'm
to
telling them
improve, to better,
that's
better.
right. That's right. And so I would like to hear the governor argue why civil servants shouldn't be held accountable, why they should be able to take as long as they want on very expensive projects, why wrongdoing can occur and nobody's held accountable. I would like to hear the governor, who's responsible for good governance, make those types of arguments to me.
But Denny, here we go again. You have a small number of society that will publicly actually have such open discussions of this nature. You have a few members of our society that are commenting, and I thank them for their participation religiously, right? That says we're not alone. But then at the end of the day, if it only appears as though 6 or 7 people are willing to do this publicly, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. We don't know what type of calls are being made to our elected arms, even over the weekend. I was tempted to actually send a message to a number of them, but I said, you know what? Let's see exactly what's going to happen today. Because I'm going to really be honest with you, Denny, I'm a bit disappointed as to how this was just thrust. It is obvious what's at play.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the mere fact, go ahead.
Let me tell you a little story. When I first started arguing with the commissioner of police about the appropriateness of his actions in relation to the administration of firearm applications. One of the things I argued with him about is I said, the law and the regulations say that when you put in an application that it like for your renewal,
Right.
that's the Form F, that should be accompanied by the prescribed fees.
Mm-hmm.
They argued with me until I was blue in the face, telling me no, 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 because we don't know if we're going to approve it, and then we'd have to refund your money. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. The law says it should be accompanied by
By
the
the first,
application,
yeah,
the fees.
yeah.
So whether you think it's a good idea or not, it's what the law says. Well, lo and behold, this time around when I'm putting in my Form F application, guess what one of the requirements are?
What? The fee.
That the application be accompanied by the prescribed fees. Now, the reason I'm telling you this
Oh, God.
is for this reason. I was the only person willing to argue about this back in the I don't know, 2006, 8. I don't remember exactly when was it. I was the only one willing to argue about it. Now it's one of their policies. It took them this long to accept that I was right, but never in one instance did they ever admit that I was right.
They're not going to do that. You're Denny.
I
You're
understand.
just
I understand.
an antagonist.
But the reason why I'm saying this is this. Noah was one man
Uh-huh.
who preached for 125
Correct.
years the same message.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if all of society ignores you.
Mm-hmm. Just be
Okay?
persistent.
If you are correct,
Keep focused.
then say what is correct.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And if we all did that, they wouldn't even think about trying to
Yeah.
exact any retribution against you,
Correct.
because they know that society would band together and they would be held accountable.
That is what we need to do as a society.
what we
This
need to
banding together, this coming together. It's not about who's got the loudest voice or who has the biggest mouth, who's the most aggressive to really come out there. We could do this in the most respectful way as we've been doing on this space. And trust me, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, politicians are scared of civil society. And the real Michelle, I think, saying the world is waking up. Cayman is waking up. And what was displayed, even in body language, in tone today, if you watch the players on the floor of Finance Committee, you can see some egos, you can see cockiness, like how dare you? And I feel that you're not doing anyone a favor when that is the space for questions to be asked. And based on how this was thrusted on people, of course you opened up a bigger Pandora box for things to be questioned because the public is speaking. And you know what? In Finance Committee, it is hard now for any person to call their MPs to say, look, slow this down, because guess what? In Finance Committee, when they're actually debating and asking those things line by line, that decision to cast a vote is there. And then where is civil society's right?
Well,
out the window.
Yes. And the reason for that is their minds is already made up.
My point. I keep saying it. The government has the numbers. Everything that has been thrust on here, whether or not you're for it, they have the numbers.
But we have a responsibility as a society to do the things that will be most beneficial to us. And we just can't do things just because we have the numbers. They need to be done for the right reasons, because when you do things, the consequences of those things have a way of sticking around for a long time.
Correct. And sometimes they're irreversible, or even with reverse, the long lasting damage we will feel for generations to come. Like some of the persons are saying, look, if we're not wanted here as expatriates, I'm waiting to hear what the Minister for Pensions will say. Will they amend the pension law should people want to voluntarily leave and not come back? Will they allow them to get their pensions?
Well, you can already do that, but it takes 2 years, I think.
My point.
Yeah.
My point.
So I'm gonna leave it here for the moment, but I just want to encourage people to have the courage to say to your politicians what you want and what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't lock us all up. They can't penalize us all. That's not possible.
You and I live that every day.
Yeah. Listen. I
We're
I'm
living
not
it, Daddy.
fearful. I'm not fearful of any of this. And let me tell you why. Because I understand
Yeah.
that as much as they would like to do it, they can't really do it. Okay? Because you have legal recourse against them.
Correct.
That's why it's important, I think, to have a core subject in our education system of the basics of administrative law. Because once you understand what your rights are, you're free to think and to act.
And if they
and
don't
interact
do
with
it, you
government.
have a right to educate yourself, participate, engage with like-minded persons. There's nothing wrong with a group of people starting. Jesus only had 12 disciples. I mean, come on. Come on. There's a reason why this space is conducted in the manner it is. And I keep saying my opinion here doesn't matter. This space is not only to, I know for a fact that it is far reaching. I know that they're listening. I know that they will never say it publicly, that they have learned a lot right here and they have adjusted their sales accordingly. But like yourself, you will never get the credit. That's okay, fine. As long as they're good, exactly. As long as there's good coming out of the discussions that we're having here, we're educating and we're informing the people, and they know that we're not coming after them personally. Trust me, there's strength in numbers and we have to remain together. And you're welcome. People are welcome on this space because I am telling you, Denny, all of our commenters, everyone that's logged on here this evening, they listen. They are hearing everything that we're saying here. And we're not looking for the praise. We just want fairness for everybody.
I ran into you know the person. I'm not going to call her name, but I ran into her today. And I'll describe her as someone who will put her hair up in a bun.
Mm-hmm.
So she's elderly.
Okay.
And the feedback that I got from her about the things she hear on your program, trust me, you're reaching a lot of people and they are talking.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
They are talking. So what I hope is that we can get to a point where people understand that they have a right to participate in this system.
Correct.
And it's not like the government is our owners and we have to obey what they say. That's not how it works.
No.
Okay? We have established the government and the government is our servants. Our servants should be working for our interests. When they're working for their own interests, the word for that is corruption.
Yep.
And that's illegal.
You just watch the body language. You just watch it. They're doing very well trying to mask it. But I'm like, wow. And they are there for the people. They are not doing us a favor. They're there supposedly working in the best interest of the people and the country.
Well, we can say a lot of things about the government, but I think what we ought to be focusing on is the need for us to come together.
Yes, unite.
For the purposes of achieving a well-oiled, well-run government that provides services to us all in a way that allows us to live our life in peace and harmony.
In harmony.
And and in an affordable way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't get that right, it's just going to all fall apart, and then people are going to be looking to go somewhere else. But you know what the problem with somewhere else is? Because they're much bigger countries.
Mm-hmm.
They're even harder
Mm-hmm.
to get change done in. Right?
But this
Like
is why
someplace,
some have the belief that even if they leave here, they will all want to come back. So what if we lose a few? They're not loving, they're not accommodating as us here in the Cayman Islands because of just who we are. But I feel that we have gotten to a point now where if it goes that extreme, they will
well,
not come back.
my comments are not about like expatriates.
Okay,
My comments
okay.
about all of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
But
right?
all of us are
So-
leaving. That's the thing. We got Caymanians that are leaving too.
Yeah, yeah. But now in response to Caymanians going to the UK and trying to take advantage of the social
Oh, well,
services,
that's coming to an end.
that's right. the
Oh,
UK 's
yeah,
clamping
that's
down,
coming to an end.
right?
We got to have an
So-
influx of our own coming back to
But
their
you see,
soil.
this is my point. My point is, it's not a solution to our problems here to pick up and run.
Uh-huh.
That's being a coward.
We need
It's
to
being a child.
stay and fight, hold accountable.
Adults look at issues and they say, how can we fix this?
Correct.
And we need to be grown up and accept the responsibility that we have as citizens to make Cayman the best and even better place to
Yeah.
live. And this thing about running to the UK,
Cowards.
listen to.
And it
listen
doesn't
to-
work out and they come here and then they're angry. They're angry
Well-
with everybody because it didn't work out for them when they went over there.
How I think about that, so you know where I stand, is the reason why I live as near to the United Kingdom as I do
Mm-hmm.
is because the Cayman Islands isn't farther away.
Mm.
So that should tell you my position.
Okay.
I don't want to go there.
Mhm.
I want to stay right here.
Yeah.
But here needs to be livable.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be that when we walk down the street, we have a reasonable expectation that everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that requires effort. It requires us to work together.
Yes.
And it requires courage.
Correct.
Because what the problem with freedom is that freedom has a degree of danger. And so if you want safety, you can get safety, but that's slavery. Because the master will take care of the worries of providing everything. You just got to go out and slave yourself to death, just like how you would do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Except you don't get the reward, you just get the work.
Right.
And so freedom has a degree of danger associated with it. But I would prefer to live in a free society where you're free to watch the movie you want to watch or eat the ice cream you want to eat, as opposed to having one centralized system saying, no, I'm sorry, can't eat that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Danny, we got a lot of work to do. And I think where we need to start is just being able to change our way of thinking, come together closer, be united in our stance. And I not all is lost. I think that as we navigate these uncharted waters that is actually presenting themselves, as we continue to be the voice right here, engaging in thought-provoking conversation and being respectful of everyone's opinion, I feel that that's where the work needs to begin, to be honest. We need to start with just that one thing, banding together as one. And if you feel, oh, well, if I tell her she's doing a good job or whatever, it's going to make her head swell. No, I don't really care. You and I have said that pretty much. We said it like a choir just now. I don't care.
Yeah.
We know our purpose. We know why we take this risk every day. We know why we do it, but I'm hoping that in time, others will see the need and the strength in unity and the strength that are in numbers. Because if you are really watching, really listening, really processing what is aired publicly, you will pick up a lot. And I feel that, Cayman, it's the time that we all need to really hold each one accountable, to be honest.
There's a famous saying that those who receive preferential treatment in life, and that's all they know, when they find themselves being treated equally as anyone else,
Yeah.
they perceive it as discrimination.
Oh, wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people in Cayman who are privileged to a point where they won't even speak to you because you're not in their class.
Correct. You're right. You're right. It's, yeah. But I bet you what?
That,
I bet you
well,
what? Good
go
come,
ahead.
bad come, crime increases, and it impacts our bottom line. Everyone's going to be impacted.
Absolutely. And so if we want to retain what we have and recover some of the areas that we've lost ground in,
Yeah.
it requires us all because it is ours.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
why shouldn't we all participate?
A lot of
I
us are
noticed-
scuffed at. A lot of us
Yeah.
are scuffed at. It doesn't matter what you say, how eloquent you are, because you're not in a certain tier of income bracket, or you just not ever don't carry the right surname. Yeah, no matter what you bring to the table, you'll never be accepted unless there's an agenda for you. And once
There's another
you're
exception.
disposable.
There's another exception. It's called a hurricane.
Huh.
And when they find themselves in certain situations, they'll be glad to be helped by people they look down on.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hurricanes have a way of doing that to us.
Humbling.
So we shouldn't, that's not how we should live.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'll leave it there for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much as usual, caller. Have a good evening. Always sound and thought-provoking conversations right here on Sabrina Speaks. Another episode, very interactive, very informative, and definitely continue to be engaging. Denver, yes. Let me just gotta say that for Denny. Denver says Denny for premier and governor. There we go. Let me tell you something, Denver. Thank you so much for your contributions. What do you said? Something is that we could lose a few thousand to the tune of 10 to 15,000 individuals. I'm getting there, Denver. That's what you're saying. Real Michelle is saying, stand up, clean up. And Real Michelle also says, I want to meet this caller. He not just knows, he knows knowingly with love and kindness. There we go. Keith Orrit says, civil servants have become slaves and cowards. Denver, I repeated that. Denver, the journey of 1,000 miles, Damian Henry says, begins with a single step. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on cmrtv.com as we continue to build in this space. I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for your trust in me. I want to thank you for your participation. And definitely, we will be keeping it real here. I know sometimes it will appear as though I'm far left, I'm far right, I'm in the middle. No, the reason why I'm appearing that way, think about it, is because this space is for everyone. And the more we engage with sound discussions, we can get a full circle of how people feel. And that's why everybody is welcome to participate in this space. But when we look at what's about to come down the poop chute in regards to digital footprint and everything that's happening, we do have legislation that came across here when it comes to digitizing here and all of that sort of stuff. You have the right to call your MPs to ask for clarity. And I guess you will just have to hope that they will tell you the truth. And if it is a case, if we're talking about everything that Denny shared with us today and continues to share on this space, if your MP is not necessarily the minister responsible for putting these things through, then you have a right through your MP to ask for an audience or some clarification for something that is bothering you. But when I actually try to pack information in to deliver these episodes, it takes a lot of work, which I don't mind actually doing it because I'm also feeding into myself. And for me to be able then to pretty much regurgitate that in layman's terms so that I capture you and make you know exactly what's here is key. And that's why your feedback to me is valuable, because then it makes me know that I am hitting the right topics and delivering at a pace that everybody can understand. But that also requires me to also listen and to take feedback and not to take anything personal. But again, it's always a pleasure being here with you, and we cannot win this. We cannot continue to coexist in Earth space if we want better for our people and our country and a better well-being when it's our money that's at stake if we don't come together as one. So whether or not you agree with these fees, and the first caller in regards to the construction industry, I am all for making sure that our people are getting into jobs and we train them up accordingly. And it has to actually take some teething pains to get started. Oh, I'm all for it. But it's a transition into one day 100% Caymanizing, let's say, our workforce. If that is the dream, it's going to take a transition, which the first caller alluded to, that small steps we will get there. But right now, the way in which this was done, the lack of context, it almost wants to appear, and I'm just repeating what people have said to me, it's sneaky. It's causing people to doubt. It has caused the style in which this has been delivered on the floor of Parliament since Friday, as though they have something to hide. And even though we can say now in closing, that the increases may pretty much balance the books because we got to get on with life in the short term. But the long-term resilience, to be honest, comes from the diversification, that we have to look at other revenues, being innovative, and also having foresight, but also looking at implications. And to be honest, Cayman has the talent. We have some very bright persons amongst us, the culture and the global connections to pretty much explore new paths. But it's all going to take us coming together, banding together. But the question is, will we choose them? Or will we just continue to remain in the shadows and be quiet and leave it just for a fortunate 2 or 3 to do the work? Let that soak in for a little bit this evening. Until tomorrow for another informing, engaging episode of Sabrina Speaks. Do have a wonderful evening. God bless. Love you lots. Have a safe and good evening this Monday.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.